What is going on, guys? Horizon here, and today we are discussing a very important aspect of Rocket League, game sense. And when we talk about game sense here today, we're going to be discussing it in two different ways. First and foremost, the way that we react to what we see going on the field, which is the general way that most players consider game sense. But secondly, we're also going to be looking at how we respond to the overall situation of the game based on time, based on score. How do we respond to the situation we find ourselves in specifically? And to do that, we'll be looking at a couple of examples from the blue side in this game, where honestly a couple game sense hiccups really caused some problems through the back half of this game. So we're going to be kicking things off here up by 3 with just over half the game to go. We can see our teammate on the sidewall here on 0 boost, and we're sitting back just kind of watching how the play develops with a healthy tank to work with. Now, the very important thing when we consider game sense is that we need to understand where the play is going so that we can position ourselves accordingly to play off of it to the best of our ability. So let's just roll this play forward, and then we'll take a second to talk about it. So we dive on forward for this challenge, and just like that, the ball is going to transition down the field directly into our net, which obviously isn't great. Now, there are hiccups from both players here on our blue side, I would say. And what we're going to see here is as we push forward, number one, we need to just be aware that our teammate is here on 0 boost. So if we, going forward as last, send this ball anywhere that allows the opponents to quickly jump onto it, we're immediately going to be putting our team under a lot of pressure, simply because our teammate is not going to be able to rotate back overly quickly. Now, alongside that, the other thing we really need to consider is how this player here is attacking the ball. Are they just driving directly across the field? Are they driving back towards their own half? What is their response to this ball popping into the midfield and us pushing forward? The other thing that we need to try to be aware of is where the other opponent is, because as of right now, we have eyes on one opponent, but the other one is nowhere to be seen. And if we were to just flick our stick to the right slightly, we would see them currently running back to go get this corner boost, which is going to play a huge role in how this entire situation plays out. So the first thing to consider here is that we do have a 3-goal lead, so we want to make sure that we're not being too aggressive in how we challenge the ball. But as we move forward here, when we see Lane just cutting directly across the field, we have a couple of options. Because if we dive forward like we do here, because he's coming from this angle and we're coming from this angle, realistically, we're just going to create a pinch that goes kind of this way, which works out for the opponent who's going over here to this corner boost, because they're going to be able to grab that, turn on the ball, and have a free ball to play with. So if we know that this opponent is over here, we need to try to prevent the ball from going in that direction if at all possible. So to do that, we really have two options here. The first option is we can recognize that Lane is cutting across this way, and rather than just challenging the ball straight, we can angle out to the right side here to try to just cut off this angle and send the ball more this way or even that way a little bit more, just not directly across the field like Lane is kind of hoping for here. The other option that we have is because he is really focused directly on this ball and not really thinking about us necessarily diving forward, except that he just wants to get the ball to the side. The other option that we have is we can just fake off of this, recognize that he's just hitting the ball across the field, fake the first touch, wait for him to hit it, and then cut back in on it, and possibly have a wide open net if we play our cards right. But the one thing that we don't want to do is give him exactly what he wants, which is why it's so important for us to understand where all the players are on the field to ensure that our challenge is not putting the ball in a spot that the opponents can easily capitalize on. Because as you can see, because we just dive straight forward, when we inevitably get this block, we actually just help them. Realistically, if we don't touch this ball at all, we're actually in a better spot because our teammates can probably just drive back and pick up control of the ball once again, because Lane is going to land over here somewhere. But because we get the touch and send the ball this way, now the opponents capitalize on this situation, and we've immediately put ourselves in a very, very bad spot. Now, flipping over to our teammate here, the one issue we have on this perspective is that we're sitting here on 0 boost and we see the ball go pinching across. And right now, as this ball rolls, we need to recognize, oh crap, this is not going to be good because Hanjo is going to have full boost, a free ball, and a very easy path towards the goal based on this setup. So what we absolutely cannot afford to do is just continue to meander away from the play. We need to understand that there is an immediate threat here, and we need to try to get back into a spot that at least gives us a chance to keep this ball out of the net. But instead of recognizing what's going on as quickly as possible, we are instead just going to continue on our merry way. And you can see right as Hanjo's about to get this touch, we flip across the field towards the mid boost. So this is us not considering where the play is going at all, not reading where the play is going at all. And because of that, we are now completely out of position to deal with this. And Hanjo just has a completely free path to the net. Moving on forward now, we're going to find ourselves in another very similar position scoreline-wise. The clock has ticked down a good bit, but we are still up 3 with now only about a minute and a half to go. As we move our way back down the field, you can see we're in a pretty good spot right now. Like, yes, our teammate's upfield on 0 boost, but Hanjo has just blasted this ball away. It's completely free. This is not a problem at all. Of course, assuming that you are positioned well enough to deal with whatever bounce is about to come off the backboard. And of course, if you're not positioned well enough, well, things like this tend to happen. So, how can we rectify this situation? Well, it's actually very simple. And again, it just comes down to understanding what can the opponents do with the ball? Is there anything they can do, or do we have a bit of time to put ourselves in a better spot? So I would say we're in a very good spot right now. The one thing we don't want to do is utilize this initial flip. Because if we look right here, there is still no reason that we need to go back to the net overly quickly. And why do we know that? Well, nobody's actively on the ball. Like, Lane is kind of flying behind it. Hanjo might be driving up the wall to get a touch, but we don't actually know where the ball is going as of yet. And they're, like, literally in their final third. So the chance of them being able to boom the ball hard enough that we won't be able to get back to it from just driving and using a bit of boost and whatever other boost we pick up along the way is just simply not likely. And the problem with us using this flip here is because we're doing so in a pretty unnecessary position, it's going to put us back in the net a bit early because this ball is now coming towards the backboard, but we're already here. So now, like, we can't really maintain our movement because we're already at the near post. So we kind of just have to come to this awkward stop, which means that when this ball bounces out, it's really difficult for us to generate our momentum again to be able to get out to it before Hanjo lands and is able to put on the shot. So instead of that, let's just imagine if we just keep eyes on the play. We don't turn ball cam off because we don't need to do that. Just keep eyes on the play and just drive. Imagine if we just drive like this, and now we see, okay, they're just booming it, because again, from here, we have our entire net covered. Like, very unlikely, even with 36 boost, that we're not going to be able to grab at least like this pad and this pad if we need to, and be able to make whatever save we would need to make should this ball be directly on target. But if we're just over here and we go, oh, okay, that ball is just going to bounce off the wall, no problem. Now we can slow down a little bit, but maintain our driving speed and just kind of be chilling here. So now we can be inching out towards the middle of the field and into that corner now from like this back post position, which gives us this space to react to this bounce. And it allows us to maintain our speed throughout this entire thing so that we're able to just jump on this ball immediately. And realistically, if we look at the position our opponents are in, not that we would know this in the moment, but Lane is on low boost, Hanjo is basically on 0. If we boom this thing off the wall back downfield and recover somewhat well, it is very likely that we can get a counterattack goal here. But instead of giving ourselves the best chance to play this ball off the bounce and be able to get this clear, we cut too close to the near post, force ourselves to slow down because we get here too early, and then we're just simply unable to get up to the ball when it bounces out. So very important that you guys manage your speed around the field, and that's all based just on what you're seeing. If there's no immediate threat on the net, there's no reason to flip, there's no reason to boost, there's no reason to really go anywhere until a threat actually starts developing. Because if you do rush places, you're going to end up there early like we do here, and you're simply going to beat yourself, giving up free goals over and over and over again. We're going to see a very similar idea in terms of assessing threat level in this play here, where again, our decision making based on the presumed threat of a play causes us to just be wildly out of position and pretty much hand a free goal to our opponents for absolutely no reason. And again, looking at the score at this point, we're up by 2 with 28 seconds. But let's just play this forward. We're going to snag some boost here. Not a problem. Teammate forcing the ball off the wall, and you guys might be noticing the issue. You might have noticed the problem. And it's this jump. Because, again, look at the overall structure of the play. Assess if there's a threat. If there's not a threat, we don't need to rush. We can take our time, especially with this amount of time left. This is why understanding the overall situation of the game is extremely important. But even regardless of being up by 2 with only 23 seconds left, in any situation, jumping this aggressively for a ball like this, when your teammate is just floating in the air out of the play, is extremely dangerous because it's really difficult to maintain possession of the ball from a spot like this. And we can always figure out if we need to actually challenge the ball by looking at where the opponents actually are and what they can or cannot do with the ball. So looking at this, Hanjo's all the way basically in their box. So not a threat at all, completely uninvolved in the play. The only reason you might jump for this is if you think Hanjo is closer, but if you recognize how far away they are, you're totally fine. Then the other thing you need to consider is let's look at Lane and let's see if he has any chance to get back to the ball to do anything threatening. That's basically our 2 questions. Is there a possible pass? Is there a threat of the guy on the ball currently? If both of those answers are no, we need to take time. So let's look here. Lane, can he get back to the ball? Well, boy, not really. He's kind of just boosting after it. But again, teammates out of the play. So what is Lane going to do from here? Let's just say that he does manage to get back to this ball. Is this ball going anywhere threatening? No, it's going like over there to the side wall. You know what? Lane is actually doing a fine job of killing time for us at this point because he has not gone towards the net. So until anyone is able to do anything with this ball, another like 5, 6, maybe even 7 seconds will have come off the clock if we just go, oh, Lane, buddy, you've messed up. Let me just watch whatever it is you're doing here, and I'll just wait until, a good opportunity presents itself. But instead, we force ourselves into the play instead of just playing the patient game and just like taking a catch here or whatever. And now because of that, we put both ourselves and our teammate upfield, and nobody's back. So now, instead of us having complete control of the ball and like a free dribble over to the side where we continue to kill time off the clock and inevitably take this into a very safe situation for us to be able to secure this win, we hand the ball away because we're panic jumping at absolutely nothing because we're simply not considering the position we're actually in. So very important that you guys really take the time to assess the overall state of the field as well as the overall state of the game. In a play like that, we're up by 2 with just under 30 seconds to go. If they make a touch that's not threatening and it's not heading towards our net, there's no reason for us to hard commit at it when they're pretty much just buying time for us, which is exactly what we want them to do. It's about to go from bad to worse, let me tell you. So right here, we had a bit of an awkward kickoff for sure, and we end up all the way upfield. But then again, you can see we're just kind of meandering around, and then we go, oh crap, panic, and well, now the game's tied with 4 seconds left. So again, this is just about understanding where you need to be to put yourself and your team in a good spot. So going back here, we have a very, very awkward kickoff. I don't know exactly what happens here. It looks like, a fake, and then we get jump scared by the fake. I don't really know what's going on or how this has happened, but realistically, the orange team comes out way worse from that kickoff because they have just kicked the ball back for free to your teammate. So at this point, what I'm thinking, right, is, okay, teammate's got free control into the corner. That's going to kill a heck of a lot of time. I don't want to just be lingering all the way upfield for all that long, just so that when my teammate does eventually get challenged, I can be in a good spot to play off of that. Now, realistically, because of the positioning of these players and where they are, and inevitably how much boost we know they have since nobody's gotten a mid here, I actually don't mind us taking the time to get a full boost in this position. However, I disagree that we should be pushing into our opponent's half. And again, just understanding the situation of the game, we're up by 1 with 14 seconds left. So in order to allow us to get back in a supportive position for our teammates so that we can play off whatever challenge will inevitably come, rather than going to get the corner boost, why don't we just turn and grab this mid boost, and then we can rotate back and be behind our teammate in a nice supported position to play off of him. But instead, we push all the way into the corner, which, again, isn't the worst thing because there's really no challenge coming immediately. So this isn't necessarily a bad decision, especially considering that momentum is carrying us in that direction. But it would also have been nice to steal a mid boost from Lane, who's about to pick it up. So if we could have gotten that mid boost to steal it from them, that also would be relatively good. But we're here anyway, so all that aside, we're here on 81 boost. At this point, our teammate looks like they're going to have some kind of control, some kind of something off this wall, at least is what it looks like. And that's going to, go a bit awry. But the real problem is that we are just hanging out over here. Like, we're not going anywhere. We're just kind of driving through the opponents. Like, maybe we're looking for a bump there. Maybe that's what's going through our heads. But again, because we're not in a supported position for our teammate, when he does make a mistake here and this challenge comes out, now we're not in a position to play this ball. If instead we had picked up this boost and now gotten back quickly, we could use a little bit of boost, get a flip, and, make our way back somewhat quickly. But then once we get around here, we could slow down. So let's just say we get around here, I don't know, maybe around now. So now we can slow down a little bit and just kind of assess what's happening. And now we see, okay, wait, teammate's losing control of this. Well, now I'm good. I'm in a supported position where I can play off of him. So wherever this challenge goes, I have him covered. So then when this happens, we have a fine angle, because it's like, oh, okay, whatever, this is fine. We can turn, we can play this, we're nice and easy. We have a ton of open space on the left side of the field. We tap it over lane, we have all the control in the world. We safely take out this last 5 seconds. But instead, we don't put ourselves in a supported position. We just linger up the field, doing basically nothing, except like mildly threatening bumps, which realistically is not overly beneficial since they've already backed off. And then when our teammate loses control of the ball, we're nowhere near a spot to be able to support him. And even so, we're actually able to get back to this ball. But instead of recognizing that we have a bit of time because Lane is just gone for that challenge and the other guy is out in Narnia hanging out, we absolutely hard panic at this ball and jump over where we have to and completely miss it. So as our camera goes up, highly unlikely that that guy coming from the other side of the field is going to want to jump in on this simply because his other teammate is literally right in front of this ball. So we don't need to rush. We can take time. We can make sure we get the read here. But instead, we hard panic. And just like that, we're going to give up another goal. And we're going to roll that right into the final moment here. Because yes, with 4 seconds left, we are somehow going to manage to throw this game away completely on 0. Absolute pain to go from a 4-2 lead with 20 seconds left to losing before overtime. That is a tough spot for sure. There's a couple of things here. Number one, I have no idea why we're hard chasing this bump off the kickoff. Realistically, like looking at this, the second we see that opponent go to the back corner, there's absolutely no reason to hard chase this. They have a ton of momentum. We really don't need a goal off this kickoff. If we get it, fantastic, but we don't need it. But instead, we hard chase the bump. And then by doing that, we leave our teammate back completely alone, again, in a very vulnerable spot. Now, popping on over to our other player here, the big thing we're going to see is just an unnecessary force up the field for absolutely no reason. And this is just about reading the play. Like, looking at this, you need to have full eyes on what's going on. So you also see this opponent go to the back corner. You know they're over there. If your teammate does chase that, they're going to be out of the play for a long time. Number one rule in this position, don't give up a free ball. Keep it in a safe spot and we'll be good to go. So again, this ball rolls forward. There's no reason to play this into the midfield. Now, when things are going against you, the absolute worst thing you can do is get desperate, which is what we're going to see here. The mentality at this point is that we had a massive lead. We lost that massive lead. And now we're just trying to do whatever we can to push ourselves back over that finish line to secure the win. But the problem when we get desperate is we make panic plays like this, where we just throw the ball into random spots on the field without really considering what we're seeing. And if we're looking out here, we have one opponent challenging us coming forward. We have another opponent who clearly has gotten this corner boost because we can see our teammate has 0, so Hanjo must have gotten it. So at this point, there's no reason for us to throw the ball into the midfield because Hanjo is going to win that race every time. So instead of that, Let's just recognize the ball is rolling here. Let's play it to safety. And heck, it's possible if we play it to safety, we get this corner boost. We can take the ball up the wall, and now we have an actual opportunity to create an offensive chance. But instead, we panic, we get desperate, we throw the ball away, and we hand that opportunity at the end of the game directly back to our opponents, which is exactly how we've gotten ourselves in trouble all the way through the back half of the game. And by the time we respawn, the ball is simply in the net, and we've gone from a 4-2 lead with 20 seconds left to a 5-4 loss before overtime. And if you look back at any of those goals, never once were they really earned by our opponents. In every one of those situations, we did something where we took the ball that was relatively going to be safe in our own possession, or at least a nice booming clear, and instead of getting that solid play and making the play that we needed to make, we simply took the ball, took the opportunity that we had to play it, didn't consider anything that was going on in the play as a whole, and just handed the ball back to our opponents over and over and over again. So, in your own games, you guys really need to take the time to, number one, consider the time and score. If you're winning with a lot of time left, number one rule, don't get too passive because you don't just want to run all the way back down the field towards your own net. But the big thing is that you make smart decisions. When you're winning as the clock is counting down, smart decisions will win you the game. You don't need to do anything else. You don't need to score. You don't need to go for any kind of crazy outplay. You just need to play smart, let the clock do the work for you, and don't give your opponents free opportunities. The second thing, and this applies to all times during a game, is you need to actually look at where the other players are, find where your open space is, find where your free touches are, and make sure you're not rushing yourself unnecessarily. One of the biggest problems that players have is when they get panicked in situations that they really shouldn't be. And that happens because you're simply not aware of where the other players are, what they can and can't do with the ball, and when you get into that state of mind, you are prone to making a lot of mistakes, as we saw here today. Of course, thank you everybody so much for watching. I really do appreciate each and every one of you who made it to this point in the video, and I do hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you did, make sure you click that subscribe button right down below, so you make sure you don't miss any future Rocket League content. Additionally, if you guys would like to be a bit more involved in the community we're building here, feel free to check out my Discord, which will be linked down in the description. And as always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. See you later, guys.